As most of you know who follow our projects each month, we recently released a major Earth Mysteries project on Jesus and the crucifixion. That replicated and greatly extended a previous project that was done at Farsight many years ago and released independently, titled The Crucifixion Ruse. Now, the basic results and implications of both of those projects, especially the most recent release, is that Jesus was not crucified. Rather, someone else was crucified in his place. Someone who had some mental issues and who was convinced by a very small group of Jesus' disciples to become the Messiah and fulfill biblical prophecy. Now, the authorities back in those days had not yet seen Jesus physically, and Judas's very dangerous role was apparently to lead the arresting authorities to this person with the mental issues rather than the real Jesus. Basically, everyone who amassed a large following back in those days was crucified. It was a foregone conclusion, and anyone as advanced as Jesus as a spiritual being knew that this was how it would turn out. A crucifixion, period, no questions asked. No other result was possible. Now, Earth was being run as a very severe prison planet back in those days. The Greek and Roman empires were strictly slave societies that relied on imprisonment and terror to function. So, if someone was to try to change this, that person would have to do it from within, and that meant personally teaching the masses to think in a new way. The end product of trying to help people was going to be, again, a crucifixion. There is no way that a being as advanced as Jesus would be willing to subject himself to the punishments of his enemies. And remember, our many other projects at Farsight, ultimately, those enemies were extraterrestrials, the bad ETs, who were propping up the human slave societies as a means of maintaining control over a very extensive and valuable slave society. So Jesus had to let the crucifixion happen, even if it meant letting someone else with mental issues go through it. It was the only way to insert the necessary ideas into this human society on this planet. The crucifixion was going to happen, so one had to make the best of it. Now, let's segue into this current project, Pope Francis and the Vatican. Obviously, the Catholic Church is fundamentally and financially tied into the Jesus crucifixion idea, and the Vatican is the top of the line of the Catholic Church. The Vatican has a huge financial interest in maintaining the allegiance of their followers. The dogma of the Church is very different from the simple message of love and forgiveness spoken by Jesus back in the day. And drawing a direct connection to many of the projects that we have done here at Farsight, it is hard to escape the conclusion that this is the result of extraterrestrial manipulation of the planetary population through large institutions such as the Church, so that it could replace the fading influence of the religions of the ancient Greek and Roman gods. To do this, saints of all varieties were invented to replace the many Greek and Roman gods. And the idea was heavily promoted that one needed to get down on one's knees and beg for forgiveness of sins in order to avoid being banished for all eternity into the fires of hell. If one begged hard enough, one could possibly be granted by the suitable authorities an eternity in heaven. And if someone claimed to never have sinned, then there was the idea of original sin. So there was no escape from this terror. And with these ideas in place, a religion based on concepts of terror and reward was established, and subservience and submission were assured. And it worked! Christianity is one of the world's largest religions. Moreover, these same ideas also influenced Islam as well, a religion that also demands absolute obedience in order to avoid eternal punishment in the fires of hell. If one adds all of the Christian and Islamic populations together, that sums up to a huge proportion of the Earth's population. Behind all of these things are efforts to control a population by authoritarian means, which means fear based on direct threats of eternal terror and punishment. Do you see why the disclosure of the true nature of the extraterrestrial involvement with the Earth's planetary population is so important? What people are talking about currently regarding the UAP or UFO disclosure is only the tip of the iceberg. The question is not, are we alone in the universe? The real question is, what have the extraterrestrials been doing all these years? And what are they doing now? If Earth truly is a prison planet, our work here at Farsight indicates that it is a mental prison. It is not something that comes from putting people behind bars, as with a physical prison. It is a psychological and mental thing. And if true disclosure happens, then the entire prison infrastructure will collapse. We at Farsight are not asking for a revolution. We are only asking that people be told the truth about their past and their present, and acknowledging that UAPs or UFOs are real is the first step in that. But you see, we have found that the elites in our world often know much more than the common people. The people at the very top do the work of the controllers. You rarely see the real controllers, who are extraterrestrials. The people you see are national, religious, and corporate leaders. At Farsight, we have found out that many times those very leaders are only partially in control of their own thinking. They obviously have their own self-interest, but extraterrestrials, the so-called bad ETs, are fully capable of manipulating the decision-making processes of those leaders. Indeed, we have found that the good ETs, extraterrestrials who want the prison to be dismantled and everyone freed, have been almost entirely closed out of the planetary leadership. So the good ETs have focused their efforts on winning the hearts and minds of the masses. You and I and everyone else, the common people. And by and large, the good ETs have succeeded, which has been nearly miraculous given the level of control that the bad ETs have maintained over human leadership during the past centuries. But then it becomes a really interesting question. If the bad ETs have been manipulating the minds of human leadership so effectively for so long, what does this look like? How much do the leaders, especially the top religious leaders, actually know about the very origins of the religions that they maintain? It is a really serious question. So we turned this question into a specific interrogation. We sent our remote viewers into the heads of the Pope and the Vatican leadership to learn exactly how much those leaders actually know about the real story of what happened to Jesus regarding the crucifixion. The Pope and the Vatican leadership hold a lot of secrets, a sort of widely held view among many. But do they know the facts about the real historical Jesus? How much do they know? We simply wanted to know, so we used remote viewing and the most highly trained and experienced remote viewers existing today to answer these very questions. And that is what you are watching right now. After watching this project, if you want to learn more about the subject, you might want to watch our recent project on Jesus and the crucifixion. Please understand that we at Farsight all come from religious backgrounds, so we do not come to these conclusions lightly. Also, we fully understand that these results may upset many religious people. We do not want to upset people. That is not our intent. But while we are sensitive to the feelings of people, we are also committed to honesty and integrity, no matter what. At Farsight, that means we do not change our results to match what the audience may want to see. We are true to the data, period. If you are new to what we do here at Farsight, you may want to watch more of our content so that you can see that remote viewing is very real, and what we do is of very high quality. We do not demand that you believe us or that you follow us. We only ask that you watch what we have done and then make up your own mind. I am Courtney Brown, Director of Farsight. At Farsight, we study the perceptual process known as remote viewing. Remote viewing is a mental process that is done using highly structured methodologies that are derived from those developed by the United States military and used for espionage purposes. But Farsight is civilian, and we use remote viewing for scientific experiments and for exploration. This new project conducted at Farsight employs remote viewers who are among the most experienced and highly trained professional viewers existing today. The remote viewers all describe much the same thing, all corroborating reports. And it is worth emphasizing that the remote viewing was done under totally blind conditions, very defendable, and none of the remote viewers communicated with one another about the project during the data collection phase. Even their final presentations were recorded on video with no one else in the room. This is not science fiction, told through riveting remote viewing conducted under defendable, clean, scientific conditions. This is as real as it gets. Now it is time to see the data with your own eyes, all recorded live on video with the remote viewers, all totally blind to the actual target or the nature of the project when they did all of their work. If you know about our work here at Farsight, and if you are fully aware of the quality of that work, you will know that these data are for real. But again, just watch, and then you be your own judge. As with all projects done at Farsight, there is a target. The target is that which serves as the focus of attention for the remote viewers. But remember that the remote viewers are not told this target or anything about the project when they do their work. We don't use the words soul or spirit because of the religious baggage of those terms. We use the term ISBE. We are all ISBEs, and ISBE is someone who simply is for the purpose of being. And all ISBEs extend through all time and space, just like everyone else. Our viewers are simply highly trained at describing these perceptions that originate from their ISBE selves, as compared with the thoughts of the electrochemical physical brain. So their ISBE selves are able to focus on the correct target even though their physical brains have no knowledge of the target. In fact, something that is widely reported in the so-called UFO abduction literature is that UFO abductions of humans often involve pulling people out of their physical bodies, leaving the bodies, say, on the bed in the middle of the night. Well, human science cannot progress very far without recognizing the composite nature of all humans, where the physical body is animated by ISBEs, and the ISBEs are the real persons. Indeed, extraterrestrials often don't want the human bodies on their ships. Just think about it. The human bodies are filled with viruses and bacteria of all sorts, and they have infirmities. They also have significant waste disposal requirements. UFO ships are in general sterile environments, and the UFO inhabitants don't want to be exposed to all of that. Diseases, human waste, infirmities of all sorts. Their tech is such that they can deal with such things if they must, but it is not something they welcome. Walking around on Earth is generally considered a hardship post. So the bottom line of all this is that the ISBE part of all of us is the important part. And it is the ISBE part that allows the remote viewing process to work in the first place. Actually, you all have evidence of this every time you go to sleep and dream. Dreams are actual things that your ISBE selves do. But those things are done at night out of the body, and the memories of your activities out of the body are not registered in the electrochemical parts of your brain. That is why it is so difficult to remember your dreams. It is like asking your computer to remember a file that was never written on the computer's physical memory. For a while, parts of the memory may exist in RAM, but eventually anything that is not saved in a physical file is forgotten and lost. So your dreams are daily evidence of how remote viewing works. It works because of the ISBE part. And our remote viewers are trained to retain those perceptions and to write them down while they are fully awake so that they can be analyzed later. Now, the target for this project has 3 focuses. The first focus is Pope Francis. In the remote viewing sessions that you will now see, Pope Francis is subject A. Now, the second focus is the Pope's closest advisors, and they are group K. His closest advisors are those who see him every day and who advise him on major issues facing the Catholic Church. We can assume that this is a rather small group of people. Now, the third focus is the Council of Cardinals, and they are group Y. These are a group of 9 cardinals who are also called the Council of Cardinal Advisors. They are appointed by the Pope, and the group was formally established in 2013. Going into this project, we are assuming that the smallest group of advisors to the Pope would be Group K, his closest advisors, and the 9 members of the Council of Cardinals would be somewhat larger, and they would be a group that connects the Pope to the much larger College of Cardinals, which has 241 members. So to summarize, we are interested in what is in the heads of Pope Francis, his closest advisors, Group K, and the 9 members of the Council of Cardinals, Group Y. In addition, This project has two concerns that we are interested in once we get into the heads of these people. Concern one is the knowledge that Jesus was not really crucified. And concern two is the knowledge about the extraterrestrial presence in the Earth environment. So we are interested in who knows what about the real historical Jesus, as well as the ETs, both the bad ETs and the good ETs. Friends, we found out everything, and now you are going to know it too. Starting with a session by Intisam and then Aziz Brown, Shantae, and finally Yeme Genet, here are our perceptions of what is actually known in the highest levels of the Catholic Church regarding the crucifixion and the extraterrestrial presence here on Earth. Now, when you watch these sessions, please remember that the remote viewers knew nothing about the target for this project or anything about the nature of the project when they did their work. So, if you are upset with what they describe, remind yourself that they did their work totally blind and without communicating with one another during the data collection phase of the project. I am the one who thought up this project, so if you want some of the blame for spilling the beans, it's all on me. The viewers are tremendously talented, but remote viewing only works if it is done totally blind. The viewers had nothing to do with creating this project or the target.